Well, hello, everybody. We get to hang together. We get to work together. I love that about us, but we're also doing this podcast today. Pastor Brian here with my co-host, Nikki Het. What's up, Nikki?
I'm excited to be here.
Right, it's
really
great.
fun.
Really fun. And then our guest today is Susie Coulterman, the one and the only, the legend.
The legend, really? Okay. Big name.
Thanks a lot for joining us. I appreciate it.
Very
What we're doing is working through these parables that we're working through on Sunday mornings with the goal that midweek sometime you're doing your dishes, you're going for a walk, you're walking your dog, that you're just engaging or re-engaging with the text again, just to invite our people to think about it. Spiritual formation happens in our sanctuaries. I love that, but it also happens outside of our sanctuaries, right? So we want to get our people, and I know they do it so well, but thinking of Jesus and growing in faith outside. So that's really the goal here. Susie, tell us a little bit. I want to ask the question, what is it that you do here? Let's talk seriously though. Like, what do you get to do here and what do you love about it?
I get to love on kids and families, birth to fifth graders. And so I get to hang with little babies up to those kids that are getting ready for that junior high time when we kind of turn them over to Nikki and let her take them on to that formation. Formation, I think in that time of faith is so much about the parents and what they're doing. So we try to pour a lot into parents and give them opportunities to take what we do in Sunday school back home.
Yep. So, outstanding. Yeah.
Susie is literally a baby whisperer too. Like I've seen it in action with kids who are like, they look at me or Pastor Brian are like, and they'll run straight to Susie. It's really great.
I love having my hands held on Sunday mornings. That's for sure.
Beautiful. Most kids actually see me.
Like, oh, man, I'm running.
Oh, but they break through. The breakthrough happens.
Nikki, you see it so much because you work so closely with Susie. But one thing I love about Susie is how she shepherds her volunteers so well.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Right? Yeah. And like, I think the people that serve with you feel like you genuinely care about them.
I am blessed to have a huge team of people that come around our families and our kids and love on them week after week after week. So it is a joy. We had our vacation Bible school, and that is, overflowing with people that want to serve. And I think that is just something that our church expects, but just like exuberates. And
it's their heart. It's their heart.
Yeah, it's their heart.
Yeah, it's like normal.
It's normal.
Like 85 volunteers somehow got normal.
Like a 1-to-1 ratio.
It is close.
I just love that about it because it becomes like a family reunion week for our church, like a mission trip for our church that week.
It is. And for the kids, I want that to be that way. I want that to be their mountaintop week so that they have that experience. So when they go, that's that faith formation of remembering that was my week. Yeah. Everything was done for me a little bit.
Yeah, I had that. Like milestone moments when I was a kid, where I felt like the whole church invested and rallied in me. It was foundational for me. Yeah. But Susie, you also wear a lot of other hats.
I wear a few other hats.
And you do it so well.
Oh, well, thank you.
Talk about some of those other hats you wear.
I have an amazing husband. I get to be a wife to Jim. And God blessed us with 6 kids. 4 of them are married. And he's blessed us with 5 grandsons, and number 6 grandchild is on its way.
Awesome.
I didn't realize they were all sons.
They're all sons.
Oh, man.
It is a lot of footballs and sand and gator riding right now.
Oh, man.
And they love each other. They're close. The cousins are between ages 3 and 1, and right now they are just like all in.
That's so great.
Yeah.
And you just get to watch that.
I just get to watch and pray, again, support them and walk beside them as parents. And when we're having a bad time, I can pray with my little people, know, and we and our youngest just graduated, and so we will be empty nesters.
Whoa.
So, that's a new season for us too.
How are you processing that?
Somebody said, what are you going to do? I said, I got stuff. I got people. So I'm not worried about being bored, but I'm excited for Nathan. We want our kids to take flight. And we build the nest for them, but then I think there's time to let them go, and I'm excited to watch them go.
I'm going to need to book time with you 1 year from now.
Yes.
I am not going to be doing well.
No,
but you're going to shepherd me through it.
The first one is harder than the middles and the last. There's a difference. There surely is.
Susie, talk to our people about the room that we're in right now.
We are in a room that was once a preschool room for Gloryland, and then we got to get to use it for children's ministry. And I wanted to change out the coloring to make it look different than the other rooms. And so I brought on a team, Leanne Tabusick and Courtney McGinnis and Allie Bertles, and little Eliza came along too. And they are artists and painters, and I got to just watch them come up with this vision for this cross. And so we painted color after color after color. And I see it with lots of different thoughts. One is maybe I'm a color on that wall, and sometimes I'm close to Jesus.
Hold on.
What?
Can I just say, because some people are just listening.
Oh.
So there's a wall behind us that has a cross, and around it are just a bunch of different colors of triangles, and it's like it almost looks like stained glass, would you say? Yeah. But it's like a mural, and it was a collaborative effort, and it looks really cool.
It is. So if you haven't had a chance to come back through the Glory Land rooms, definitely do that. But it is a mosaic looking stained glass window, feeling the cross is white in the center. And so sometimes the coloring, I might be a color, I might feel yellow today, or maybe I feel more bright blue. And sometimes I'm near the cross, and then sometimes I'm a little further, and maybe I'm further from Jesus, but maybe I'm actually leaving and going off to talk to somebody else about him and bring him closer. So
I love that about our church. And I think other churches do it really well too. I know we're not the only one, but like normalizing faith having highs and lows. Yeah. We do that with our kids. We do that in confirmation. I think that's a message we really relay to our kids. But I think that's reflected in their faith statements that they recognize it. And it's not like, I think sometimes we feel, or the message gets relayed to us, that like we're only supposed to be always close to God.
Right.
And the reality is like that's the goal. But the reality is for a lot of reasons we can feel far away. So to have like a leader say, hey, sometimes I actually feel like I'm drifting.
I could be drifting.
But the Lord always takes me back. Actually, that's our text for today, right? Great segue. But before we do that, I do want to go back a little bit to the room and the kind of origin story of this room. You observed, here's my memory.
Okay.
It's not perfect. Okay. But here's what I remember. You saying, listen, we've got 4th graders, 5th graders who are they need a space of their own. They need to sit in bigger seats, right? They need my son Luke does not fit in a Glory Land. That's like Elf, right? So it's like, hey, let's have a space that's actually has bigger furniture, right? And is their own, right?
And I love this church saying, we value that. We hear you, and let's make that happen. And so this room, and so it does serve our 4th and 5th graders. It serves our 2nd and 3rd graders some nights. It also serves adults when they need a space to come and have a spot for if they need table and chair space. So I love that we are making disciples in this room.
Awesome.
So sometimes we call it the upper room, even though it doesn't go up any stairs. It just, you walk straight in. Jesus worked with his disciples in the upper room. And so here we make disciples.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
It's a level.
It's a level upper room.
Nikki, talk about the text we're going to be in today. Where are we in the Bible? What are you going to be reading for us?
All right, we are in Luke chapter 15, verse 1. It says that Jesus tells the parable of the lost sheep. And so this is the first of 3 things that Jesus talks about being lost and found. So pay attention to that. But yeah, we're going to be reading that today.
All right, give it to us.
All right, here we go. Now the tax collectors and sinners were all gathered around to hear him, but the Pharisee and the teachers of the law muttered, "This man welcomes sinners and eats with them." Then Jesus told them this parable. "Suppose one of you has 100 sheep and loses one of them. Does he not leave the 99 in the open country and go after the lost sheep until he finds it? And when he finds it, he joyfully puts it on his shoulders and goes home. Then he calls his friends and neighbors together and says, 'Rejoice with me, I have found my lost sheep.' I tell you that in the same way, there will be more rejoicing in heaven over one sinner who repents than over 99 righteous persons who do not need to repent." Boom.
That's our text for today. Nikki, talk to me as you interacted with this text, and what we want to model in this podcast is that the Bible can feel incredibly intimidating and overwhelming, but the reality is like just opening it up, reading 7 verses, reflecting on it, prayerfully considering it, maybe even talking about it with someone else in your home is actually attainable, right?
Oh,
so
absolutely.
like share with me some observations looking at this text.
Sure.
What do you see here?
Okay, so I'm going to take us a different direction.
Love every bit of it.
The first thing that actually came to my mind, and like this is my unique lens as me, and I encourage you guys to feel the same way. Have you guys ever heard of the story of the Great Sheep Leap?
Oh boy.
Oh, no. Dude.
Have you heard of it?
No. I'm very
Okay.
excited.
Well, you're going to use this as a sermon illustration someday.
Okay,
I
here we
bet.
go.
So it happened in Turkey in 2005.
Okay.
So there was a shepherd, like a legit shepherd, who had a flock, and he saw one like jump off of a cliff, and it says this stunned shepherd watched as nearly 1,500 other sheep blindly followed this sheep off the
no.
cliff. See, these are different hearts. You're like, oh no, this poor shepherd. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so crazy. That's a perfect sermon illustration. But like, that's so sad. So I guess when I think about shepherds and sheep, I'm like, dude, if only one walked away, like you're winning compared to this. So I think at first I saw this and I'm like, it's just one.
Yeah.
But I think if we start looking at, okay, like what's the heart of God? He's revealing something about his kingdom here. Like Jesus is always telling these stories to help us think deeper.
Yeah.
You know, because we love stories and it makes us think and it makes us talk about them. But what is he trying to reveal about just one goes away? He comes back and like, this is like the happiest day ever. To have one come back. So I guess, what are you guys thinking about? Like, this is a lost thing. What value is he putting on this lost sheep?
In May, we did Kingdom Values, which kind of highlighted, hey, God's economy works different than ours, right?
Yeah.
His ways are not our ways. I think we did our best to kind of bring that out. I think you could look at this text and be like, just one.
Yeah. Well, it's like in sheep, it's like, well, it's just a sheep.
That's what they do.
Maybe you think about like comfort dogs or youth group kids and you think differently. But
Well, I'm glad to hear you say that.
Not just one.
But the whole point really, or at least I think one of the 2 points here is it's not just one. One matters.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So what effort, Susie, do you see the shepherd making here? That's pretty remarkable.
I love your lens. So I grew up on a farm. And so we didn't have sheep because sheep are very, if you want to know naturally, they're dumb and they do not follow. So they will like jump off the cliff and everybody follows.
They
That's
just don't
them.
necessarily make wise decisions.
But the fact that Jesus found that one, I like the part that he puts it on his shoulders. Like, I'm like, I can have a bad parenting moment where I'm dragging the kid because they're not doing what they're supposed to do. Like, you know, they've left the playground and I'm dragging them back. No, Jesus found that lost one and set him on his shoulders and carried me back. So where did Jesus put him? He didn't like hunk him underneath his arm. He didn't like put the rope around his neck and drag. So not only did he care for the one, but look how he cared for that one.
Yeah.
Wow.
He put it on, you know.
Right.
I want to be held.
Yeah. Also, if you're looking at like who's in the room when he's talking to them, it's tax collectors and sinners. And I like did a deep dive on this because I'm like, why did they pick those words? Because you could look in a room and be like, oh, you have like the Susies and the Bryans, or you have, I don't know, the tall people, the short people. But like it's tax collectors and sinners. And these are like the polar opposite people in, like they see each other in the room and they're like, why are these other people in the room? You know, like, do you really belong here? And I feel like Jesus is talking to them. Which also, I would be so annoyed by this, like asking a question or something and being given a story in response. So I'd be like, what? Just say what you mean. But I think he wants us to think about it. And he's saying like, dude, even if one of you, like each of you in this room is so valuable to me.
Yeah.
Like you are part of my flock. And he talks about a coin being lost. And maybe that's better translated iPhone. I don't know. Or like a son being lost. Like, but you're sharing an inheritance. I think he's looking at the sheep and is like, dude, you, not sheep, us. He's looking at us. And he's saying like, hey, each of you, you're part of my flock. You have so much value to me. Like you're sharing in this inheritance, like what I am doing in God's kingdom right now. Like I want each of you part of this. So like see each other that way.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that. And Susie, thanks for what you said about the sheep on the shoulders. And I hope our listeners and viewers kind of get that sense that like, that's you.
Yeah.
Like that's Susie, that's you to God. Nikki, that's you to God. And for one thing, I pray that our listeners and viewers, like just take a moment and rest in that, that like this story tells me that every single human soul matters to God.
Yeah.
He'll leave the 99 in the open country to go pursue that one. It's not just one.
Right.
It's like that one really matters. And Susie, thanks for bringing that about like in my frustrating moments with other human beings or with my kids, like I end up doing things very begrudgingly, right? Or frustratedly or reluctantly or with a really short like fuse, right? But that's not the heart of God here, which is like, buddy, don't wander off again. Come on my shoulders. Like I'm gonna like hold you by both of your legs now. Yeah. In seminary, we had a phenomenal professor who once said, if you guys are ever like forced to do a devotion and you're totally unprepared, just do a sermon on how Jesus calls us the sheep, and that sheep are dumb, dirty, and defenseless.
Oh, there we go.
And so it's like Jesus knows human nature and says, yeah, that's what you guys are. You're going to wander away, back to our point of these triangles on the wall, right? But that the Lord's going to pursue us, hunt us down, right? Yeah. Which is really powerful.
That guy would have loved the Great Sheep Leap.
Next time we see him, he'll be like, I got something for you.
Yeah.
Susie, how do you think kiddos, like as you talk to kiddos about this, like how are they going to process this?
I think that's the beautiful part that Jesus talked in parables, in stories, because now I have a visual. Yeah. I can draw this, right? I can touch it. I can find a sheep. I could, so I can play it out and
that's wise.
I could take cars and play it out or whatever and find that lost car. My grandson, I have a bucket of cars. He comes every time and wants that one car and he has to dig to the bottom to find it. So Jesus makes it relatable to all of us. And then here we are as adults digging into it, right? So as parents, there's always something for me to see and learn. Yeah. But I've got a visual. I think God knew what his sheep were like and that we need a visual to have that story told.
Which is why it's so cool that this summer, I think we're diving into these stories and parables because Jesus is the master storyteller and knows like, here, there's a message I want my people to get. And rather than just directly tell them what that message is, I want to give them a picture, a story. And you're right. Think about like laying out 100 M&Ms on the table and one wanders off. You could think it's just one, but like, no, that one matters. Yeah. And so even think about like a moment in your home. If you have a kid or a grandkiddo in your sphere of influence, like you can model this for them, be like, hey, that one could be you or it could be somebody else, but you still matter, right? Powerful.
And whether they're in your home or they're miles away, we know that prayer, I hear it all the time. I'm praying for this person in my life or that person in my life to come, and Jesus is seeking them. Yep. Without a doubt, he's out there looking because his kingdom is not, he wants all to come.
Right.
Yeah, so I think like the challenge too is how do we adopt this heart of God, of how he sees everyone through this lens of valuable. And there are people in your spaces that you're probably like, you're the one. Like, you're the one that if I look at you as like a boring sheep, lost. But God looks at that person and is like, nope, they're so valuable to me. Like, how can we adopt that lens of even the people in the room who were like, I can't believe you are invited to this thing. Yep. To adopt that lens of like, hey, no, God sees them as valuable. Right. So how should I be thinking about them? How should I be interacting with them? And how should I be talking about them when they're not in the space and when other people are engaging with them?
Dynamite. Yeah. So you're seeing this not as just, hey, this is modeling for us who are telling us who God is, but like God is challenging us to take on this perspective on
absolutely.
Other people. Mm-hmm. Well, friends, I hope you've enjoyed this conversation. I sure have. And again, we want to model that. Just engaging with the text can be very conversational. It can be go in a lot of fun directions. You learn about sheep leaps. But thanks so much, Susie. Thanks so much for joining us. It's just an honor to work with you.
Yes, absolutely.
It is a blessing to be amongst this family of Lord of Glory who do have servant hearts, and it comes from you and it comes from this team. It's modeled, and it's a joy.
Glory to God. Well, Nikki, thanks a lot. Absolutely. Fun conversation. We'll see you guys next week for Between Sundays. See you next time.